that mistake again. The chair yields 5 minutes to Mr. Lance.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon, gentlemen. I think we're entering an interesting time in the congressional year between now and Memorial Day, or perhaps between now and 4th of July. It seems to me we ought to address some of the budgetary issues. We do not yet have a budget, and there is a debate as to whether or not we're going to have a budget act. And as I understand it, if we don't have one, it would be the first time since the 1974 Act that we do not pass a budget. In the next several weeks, we are supposed to consider unemployment benefits, money to continue funding for our troops in Afghanistan, etc. Mr. Sperling, regarding the $30 billion that would be the basis of this program, does the administration yet have an indication of where the money would be identified to pay for the program?
Congressman, as you know, what is required to meet the PAYGO scorecard is what CBO will say the cost is. So we will be looking for the score of this proposal both over the 5 years and the 10-year level. We think that over 10 years, as Chairman Frank said, the $30 billion initiative will actually not cost the taxpayer any money. There could be a small cost in the 5-year window. It will be a small fraction. And if that is the case, then when we're putting together the offsets for the overall small business jobs package, we will have to ensure that it is deficit neutral over 5 years and deficit neutral over 10 years. So I think everybody who has spoken on this bill so far, whatever their philosophy, whatever their differences, agrees that this must be passed in a way that does not add 1 penny to the federal deficit. And of course, your goal is if you can do something deficit neutral that is creating jobs and activity and revenue, that it will actually have a positive impact.
If I might continue, Mr. Sperling, what would be the time frame for a determination that would be deficit neutral?
I think we've already gotten a preliminary report that it would be deficit neutral, the $30 billion fund over 10 years. I think we are looking at the design timing over the 5-year amount. But I think, you know, as you think about the extenders bill, you're obviously, I'm sure, for extending the R&E tax credit. But you want to pay for that overall package when it comes through in the extenders. In this case, a bill will come together that pays for an overall jobs tax credit, which will include, jobs bill, which will include the tax cuts as well as this measure. And I think what Chairman Frank and the leadership has made a commitment to is that that package as a whole will be deficit neutral, and we will be working with the committees, including House Ways and Means, to make sure that
our staff indicates to me that the CBO indicates that the cost would be $10 billion over 5 years and a savings of $1 billion over 10 years. At least those are the current figures.
Yeah. And that's because the program, as initially put forward, lasted 5 years, and so a lot of people would pay back the capital right after the 5-year window. So we've sent that back to Congressional Budget Office at 4.5 years. It is our understanding that would bring the 5-year cost down to just $1 or $2 billion. But that is what I don't know for certain at this time, Congressman.
Thank you. I raise this in the context that the CBO has recently indicated the additional costs in part of the health care proposal. This is an ongoing debate, and obviously we are concerned on our side of the aisle related to whether or not there will be a budget act this year. I know that that is not specific to the discussion today, but there is an overall theme that is of great concern to our side of the aisle. Very briefly, as I understand it, the legislation says for each eligible institution that applies to receive a capital investment under the program, the Secretary shall consult with the appropriate federal banking agency for the eligible institution to determine whether the eligible institution may receive such capital investment. That impresses me as being broad language, and perhaps that is appropriate. But Mr. Sperling, could you indicate what your views are regarding that legislation and whether that is specific enough? Does it need to be that broad, given that we're trying to help the economic situation?
I think Congressman Moore has asked the same thing. I think we believe it is, because we believe that the process of going through the regulator, they are the ones with the expertise, access confidential information to make the judgment that that firm is viable without existing capital therefore, the new capital would be simply additional capital to increase lending. So it's our understanding that language is strong enough, but if there were concerns about that, that would, certainly, that would certainly be the type of thing we'd be willing to
Thank you,
discuss.
Mr. Sperling. I believe my time is up.
Thank you, Mr. Lance. The